Ready to escape into a world of enchanting pixels? What is it, my peeps? And today we're going to be doing a 3-in-1 Thomas and Friends read-along. Starting with... Day of the Diesels. One beautiful morning on the island of Sodor, Thomas and Percy were enjoying a ride in the country. Suddenly they saw black smoke in the sky. They raced to find out what was the matter. An old farm shed was on fire. Percy and Thomas let firefighters take buckets of water from their tanks to put out the blaze. But it was slow work. Okay, yeah, I didn't skip a page. Okay. Luckily, a new engine named Belle arrived. She shot water from 2 spouts on her tanks. The flames fizzled out. Back at the steamworks, everyone cheered for Belle. "Thank you," she peeped, "but I'm not a real fire engine. You need Flynn, the fire engine. He's fast and fearless. He's a real hero." The next day, Thomas took Belle on a tour of the island of Sodor. They forgot to invite Percy. He felt very left out and alone. See, that makes more sense than in the movie. You know, Thomas genuinely forgetting. Anyway, Diesel oiled up next to Percy. He invited Percy to visit the diesel works. "You'll be our special guest," he hissed. Steamies didn't usually go to the diesel works, but Percy wanted friends who had time for him. He wanted to be a special guest. Percy enjoyed his visit. All of the diesels were very friendly, but the building was dingy, old, and dirty. They didn't even have a crane. "You need a new diesel works," Percy said to Diesel 10. "I will ask Thomas to tell Sir Topham Hatt. He always listens to Thomas." Diesel 10 liked this idea. Percy raced back to the steamworks to tell Thomas about his adventure, but Thomas was too busy to listen. Flynn the fire engine had arrived, and Thomas was showing him around Sodor. That night, Percy saw something that really troubled him. Flynn was in Percy's berth at Tidmouth Sheds. Percy decided to not stay where he wasn't wanted. Percy puffed to the diesel works. He brought Kevin because he knew the diesels didn't have a crane. "We will both be needed at the diesel works," Percy peeped. The next morning, Percy told the steamies where he had been all night. Everyone was amazed. Percy asked Thomas if he could help the diesels get a new diesel works. They chugged off together to talk to Diesel 10. But Diesel 10 no longer wanted Thomas's help. "We're going to take over the steamworks," said Diesel 10. "We want you to lead us, Percy." Percy felt grander than Gordon. He and the diesels rolled away, leaving a very angry Thomas. But when they reached the diesel works, the diesels wouldn't listen to Percy. "The steamworks is ours," Diesel 10 roared, "and we're not giving it back." To make matters worse, Percy discovered that Thomas was being held prisoner at the diesel works. Percy hurried to help Thomas. As he screeched to a stop, sparks flew from his wheels. Some oily rags caught fire, and flames spread across the diesel works. Okay, that actually makes more sense than what Diesel 10 did. Anyway, Percy knew he needed Flynn's help. He found the bold red engine, and together they rushed back to the diesel works. Flynn put out the fire while Percy saved Thomas. Percy and Thomas then raced to the steamworks to stop the diesels. As they rode along, they collected their friends: Belle, Edward, Henry, Gordon, James, Toby, and Emily. Oh wow, they actually mention, alongside Belle, they actually mention all of the main fleet in order, or in number order, which actually would be Edward, Henry, Gordon, James. Yeah, Edward, Henry, Gordon, James, Toby, because Percy's right there. That's so cool. And anyway, they all knew that friends are strongest when they stick together. The diesels were surprised to see the steamies, but they refused to leave the steamworks, not diesel works, until Sir Topham Hatt arrived. He was very cross. "Diesel 10, he said sternly, "you have caused confusion and delay on my railway." "It was always my plan to build a new diesel works," Sir Topham Hatt explained, "but everything takes time. Now the diesels and the steamies must work together to build a new diesel works." Soon, the new diesel works was finished. At the grand opening, the diesels beamed and the steamies peeped proudly. Everyone was happy, especially Percy and Thomas. They were best friends again. Also, gotta love how there's just Random Diesel Works balloons, because why not? Anyways. So yeah, there was that story, and now our next story stop will be Thomas and the Easter eggs. If I can get it open, come on. That book did not want to open. Alright, where's the beginning? There it is. Spring was springing everywhere Thomas went. Each day there were more buds on the trees and more flowers bursting from the ground. Thomas's passengers were enjoying spring too. Annie and Clarabelle's windows were open for the first time in a long while. One morning, Sir Topham Hatt came into the yard. Thomas, he said, I need Donald and Douglas for some heavy pulling at the harbor. You will replace them at Harwick for a couple of days to keep things right on time up there. Yes, sir, Thomas peeped. That should be a fun adventure. Harwick was a town in the hilly countryside to the north of Sodor. As Thomas traveled north, Annie and Clarabelle weren't carrying passengers. They were full of pretty straw baskets. Harwick was chilly, but Thomas's driver assured them that it would be warm soon. The weather should be perfect for the big Easter hunt on Saturday. Egg hunt? Asked Thomas. What can eggs hunt for? His driver laughed. Eggs don't do the hunting, Thomas. Children hunt for colored eggs that are hidden in the town park. That's what the baskets are for, collecting eggs. Very interesting face there that Terence has. Anyway, as promised, each day was warmer as Thomas chugged up and down the tracks around Harwick. Each day Thomas saw Terence working hard too. Terence's caterpillar treads helped him move around on the steep hills. In a tree near the tracks, Thomas could see a pair of birds busily building a nest out of twigs and grass. One day, Thomas saw that the birds had found a piece of red ribbon, which gave the nest a cheery bit of color. Now that nest reminds me of James, thought Thomas. The day before the Easter egg hunt, Thomas saw Terence pulling a trailer full of eggs. The eggs had been the eggs had been dyed all the colors of the rainbow. Thomas had never seen anything so pretty. Thomas waited for Terence as he drove down the muddy road. As Terence easily turned the corner, he tooted a happy spring hello to Thomas. But the trailer didn't have caterpillar treads like Terence. The curve was sharp and the road was muddy. Oh no! The trailer slowly rolled onto its side. Crash! Hundreds of Easter eggs slipped off the trailer and rolled down the hill. They tumbled faster and faster down the grassy slope. Also, I love how Thomas's shocked face here looks like classic era face a little bit. Just a little bit. Some eggs got stopped by flowers and thick clumps of grass. Some rolled to the edge of a stream. A few eggs made it all the way to the fence around Farmer Dalby's garden. I wonder if that's a reference to is it Reginald Dalby or whoever did the illustrations for the original stories? Anyway, oh no! Cried Terence. How are we ever going to get all those eggs gathered and into the town in time for the Easter egg hunt tomorrow? Then suddenly Thomas smiled. I think I have an idea. The next morning, there were many... Oh, I love that face. Very classic era face there. Anyway, the next morning, there were many children and their families at the town park. There was the big sign announcing the Easter egg hunt, but there were no baskets, and worse yet, there were no Easter eggs. Just then, Thomas pulled up. Sir Topham Hatt was laughing and smiling. All aboard, he cried. All aboard for a quick trip to the new location of the Easter egg hunt. And everyone happily boarded Annie and Clarabelle, who had been decorated for the special day. Soon, everyone was headed out of Harwick towards Mr. Dalby's farm. If we cannot bring the Easter eggs to the children, peeped Thomas, we'll take the children to the Easter eggs. When they reached Dalby's farm, the children got out and waited for the signal to begin hunting for eggs. Sir Topham Hatt started the big hunt. Ready, set, go! And the children were off. They looked everywhere for the brightly colored Easter eggs. They found the eggs in the bushes, and by the stream, everyone was having fun. I thought that ended a bit too soon there. Anyway, Thomas and Sir Topham Hatt watched the children laughing and hunting. Suddenly, Thomas noticed 3 blue eggs in a nest in a tree. How did those eggs get up in that tree? He asked. Can Easter eggs fly? Sir Topham Hatt laughed. Those aren't Easter eggs, Thomas. Those are robin's eggs. Soon they will hatch and be baby birds. Thomas smiled and sighed. Warmer weather, smiling children, Easter eggs, and baby birds. I can't wait for the rest of spring. And that's a nice little picture there. All right. Our final story stop will be Thomas and the Runaway Pumpkins. There is actually a YouTube video based on this story, I believe. Anyway, from NWR 1991. Anyway, autumn was a happy and busy season on the island of Sodor. It was time for the fall harvest. There were shiny red apples to pick. Farmers were busy bringing in the last sweet corn, and the fields were full of bright orange pumpkins in all sizes and shapes. Thomas the tank engine and his friends were being really useful. They took trucks loaded with crops from farms to the docks and to bustling markets all over Sodor. Also, James's face down there looks like his CG face. His CG smiley face. Anyway, Halloween was just around the corner, but first there'd be something even more special, the annual Pumpkin Festival in Anofa. This year there was a pumpkin growing contest. Who grew the biggest pumpkin? Or who grew the biggest or roundest or funniest shaped pumpkin? There was a pumpkin carving contest, too. There would be yummy pumpkin treats for everyone. Pies, bread, soups, puddings, cookies, even pumpkin candies. Oh, there's Dowager Hat right there. With the grandchildren. I think they have names, but they forget me at the moment. Oh, that's cool. Very classic era inspired shot of Percy with very CG inspired face. Golden Books with their Thomas books love doing that. They love mashing up like classic and CG Thomas when it comes to their Thomas books, at least. Anyway, there had been a bumper crop of really big pumpkins this year. The night before the festival, Sir Topham had arrived at the sheds. After you deliver tonight's mail, he said to Percy, there's a special delivery for the Pumpkin Festival at Anofa. He pointed to 2 troublesome trucks loaded with the very biggest pumpkins. Yes, sir, peeped Percy. Yeah, he pointed to 2 troublesome trucks loaded with the pumpkins. Without faces! Also, there's 4 there, not 2. Unless those 4 are carrying something else. It's a bit difficult to tell. Anyway. Oh, now they have faces. Ugh. Anyway. After Percy had delivered the mail, the troublesome trucks giggled and wriggled. Is that even a word? Anyway. They were determined to cause confusion and delay. Now, called the first one. Just as Percy began to climb a bumpy, hilly bit of track, the troublesome trucks uncoupled themselves from the rest of the train and rolled back down the hill. Percy steamed on with no idea that he left part of his delivery behind. Giggling with glee, the trucks finally came to a stop on an old siding hidden by some trees. They went happily to sleep. Percy headed toward Anofa. He puffed into the big station just as the sun began to rise. Sir Topham Hatt and Lady Hat were there to greet him. Percy, where's all the pumpkins? Cried Sir Topham Hatt. Oh no, Percy peeped. The trucks must have come loose along the way. Oh, this is a cool shot. I like this shot. Just then, Thomas arrived with 2 coaches full of festival goers and their baskets of goodies. Thomas, please go look for my runaway pumpkins, Percy peeped. You'll have to find them soon, Sir Topham Hatt said. Without the pumpkins, the festival can't go on as planned. Thomas chuffed off. I'll try to think like a troublesome truck, he said to himself as he retraced Percy's route to the sheds. He tried to imagine where 2 trucks loaded with orange pumpkins would hide and how they could have gotten there without an engine. Just as Thomas came down that bumpy hill in the opposite direction, a thought flew into his funnel. That's it, he whistled. If those pesky troublesome trucks uncoupled themselves On a hill, they would roll back down really fast. I'll follow this track and see where it leads. Soon enough, Thomas found the old siding in the trees, and there were the trucks, still fast asleep. Thomas whistled to wake them. Time to get up, you two, he peeped. We're off to Anova before you can cause any more mischief. Percy was relieved and happy when Thomas returned with the pumpkins. Sir Topham was pleased that the festival could start right on time. You saved the day, Thomas, Percy said to his friend. Thank you for your help. The pumpkin carving contest was the best in years, and the winning design looked just like Thomas. Thomas has been a really useful engine, Sir Topham said. The other engines peeped and whistled, while everyone clapped. Thomas is our hero, the children cheered. That's sweet. Anyway. And with that great big pumpkin head, he can be the hero of Halloween too, James said with a smile. Okay, that was pretty funny. All right, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Talk to y'all later.